Welcome to Hey Have Podcast, where I dive into music, life-changing moments, and new adventures. In the previous episode, I shed light on an artist who has been influential to me in showcasing more of his artistry, and I hope you guys are enjoying his music. I know I am. Now today, in this episode, it's a little bit personal, yet it is a bit educational. And there are 3 parts of this episode I want to share. And I'm sharing a little bit about my post-grad era. And hopefully you guys have some great suggestions so we can start the conversation. Part 1, personal experience. As I picture this, it's 2023, May of 2023. It's a week before graduation, and I'm gearing up for my final projects, saying goodbye to friends, and saying thank you and having a good time. Flashing forward a few days later, as I'm approaching graduation, after having a good time with family and friends and saying goodbye, I remember thinking I had a backup plan to determine what is it that I want to achieve, whether it's going in my career profession or possibly going to graduate school, which is still an option for me. I remember my professor suggesting that we should have a job lined up before graduation and be prepared on Monday. At this time, I didn't think of it that way. I remember, this is almost a few weeks in, I thought, talking back to a few people I used to work with, they didn't really get back with me, or I started watching a lot of post-grad advice videos, whether I can relate to or couldn't. I started applying for better jobs or applying for jobs in general, whether it was something I'm familiar with or something I'm not. And time to time, it was just a lot going on. I updated my profile on LinkedIn, Indeed, and any other those platforms. And things were just going, not crazy, but I was doing what I thought is still helpful to do. Started calling a few radio stations, calling them, and just seeing what can I do, whether it's an internship, volunteering work, or a career. And only one place got back with me at this time, later on. And though it's been helpful and to me getting more hands-on experience, things still felt like the same. I appreciate my time being there, but I still wanted more growth. Have you guys ever felt this way? Or have you guys ever dealt with this way? I want to say that I hope that my personal experience so far isn't a way to get people to feel bad, but to kind of feel like we all go through things, even if it's not what we expect it to be. And I want people to know that this is a journey. It's a process. Just like me doing my podcast, doing this project and different topics to talk about. It's a process of new things. I never know what could be. And hopefully a few more things does change my way. I was going through different videos, TED Talk videos that can relate to my journey, right? I was looking at career changes. I was looking at job hunting process. I was even looking at graduate school stuff, You know how when you look up things that can be very helpful or educational in a way, and you don't really know what you're looking for, but you just kind of stumble across it. Well, that's what I did with this. I started listening to this episode or this video on TED Talk. Looking for a job, highlight your ability, not your experience, right? And the keynote speaker, his name is Jason Shin. I may be saying it wrong. There are 3 things that stood up to me when he talked about in looking for a job. He has expand your research, hire for performance, and getting the bigger picture. What I liked about each of these 3 things that he highlighted in his speech was when it came to expand your research. This particular made me open my eyes up to looking at other ways to not only look for a better job, but expanding my research in my mind. Stop going in a way that you were taught from school or the ways that you would see from other things, and try to find other ways to get outside that box. Higher for performance, I think of like how you sell yourself, how you talk about who you are, how does this XYZ company is inspired you, and how does it relate to your career interests. And then getting the bigger picture reminds me of expanding your research, but thinking outside the box of everything, whether it's a life-changing, it's historical, or something that's plain and simple. And I want you guys to hear some of the things that he said to me that really, not to me, but he said in his speech that really got me going.
Samples are one of the best predictors of success on the job. If you're hiring a data analyst, give them a spreadsheet of historical data and ask them for their key insights. If you're hiring a marketing manager, have them plan a launch campaign for a new product. And if you're a candidate, don't wait for an employer to ask. Seek out ways to showcase your unique skills and abilities outside of just a standard resume and cover letter, equating experience with ability, credentials with competence. Let's stop settling for the safe, familiar choice and leave the door open for someone who could be amazing. We need employers to let go of outdated hiring practices and embrace new ways of identifying and cultivating talent. And candidates can help by learning to tell their story in powerful and compelling ways. We could live in a world where people are seen for what they're truly capable of, have the opportunity to realize their full potential.
My interpretation in this speech, looking for a job, is helping me to change how I'm job searching and not putting any limitations on my application status. I'm learning to be open-minded, grow with my mistakes, and take on new interests in this journey. I hope that some parts of his speech speaks to anyone who's listening to this. And my last part, I took it in the sense of people pleasing, but how is Jesus taking control of my new adventure? Last part, how Jesus is taking control of my new adventure. A couple weeks ago, I started coming across this article called Silencing the Crowd. And I'm basically learning is that I can't keep people pleasing. Nothing wrong with talking to others about important decisions or something that's cool, but I have to seek the Lord's approval first before anything else. And are people more powerful than Jesus in your life? What stood out to me is one of the reasons we can't see, understand, or connect with Jesus and his plans for us is that we think people like our parents, bosses, and others are more powerful and active in our lives than he is. That's why our faith in Jesus is one of the best antidotes to our preoccupation with people. Jesus is bigger than all of us combined. And I'm learning that when I'm making a decision, whether it's major or minor, I have to talk to him first about it before I talk to anyone else about it. And I just have to allow him to take control of it, take over it overall. No more me doing this or anyone else doing this. How to calm our fear of people. Fear and intimidation is a trap that holds you back. But when you place your confidence in the Lord, you will be seated in high place. Proverbs 29 verse 25. I've been holding myself back with music overall because I'm afraid what other people think. And as I mentioned it in my first episode or trailer, I'm learning that I'm already doing it by talking about other artists, myself, and other things later on what's to come. I may not be a big on entertainer. I may not be the best musician. But what I do know is that music is still a part of me. It's something that I enjoy doing. And I have to allow God to take control of that and see the potential that he wants me to see rather than myself. And like when I talked about my previous episode about Quay and his song Be Easy, and he talks about confidence in himself, right? I have to have confidence in him. I have to have confidence in the Lord and have faith in him, whatever has come. John 5 verse 44 says, "How can you believe since you accept glory from one another, but do not seek the glory that comes from the only God?" Right? That's like me talking to other people about how do I become this baker. Talking to everybody about it, but not talking to the Lord about it first. You know, I have to learn to have his approval, and I want others to know that as well. Last but not least, in section 3, how to quiet the war of our people focus. This one's a tough one because I'm going through this. And they're pause and reflect, and they have 3 questions or 3 sections in that part. And the one that stood out to me is we constantly compare ourselves to others. I'm learning that I'm going to always support people, whether I'm friends with or acquainted with, their wins, and celebrate the wins and congratulate. And there's no reason for me to compare. I have my moments when I do that, but I have to stop and realize that what works for them will work for them, and what works for me will work for me. Proverbs 13 verse 10 says, wisdom opens your heart to receive wise counsel, but pride closes your ears to advice, giving birth to only quarrels and strife. I may not know what this verse means right now. It may come back to me later. But what I do know is that I have to be open-minded and hear the whys of the things that the Lord is saying. I want to end it with this. The more we align our lives' identities with Him, the more freed up we are to love others the way God loves us. Whatever section you guys learned in my episode today, whether it's my personal experience, this speech really took control, or how Jesus is changing the course of my life, I want you guys to know that this is a journey, this is a process. It's not a race, but it's a marathon. I hope you guys are enjoying this time, and that you guys take it in, and whatever you guys can relate to, whether it was just that video, or whether it was just that article, or all the above. Don't be in a rush, but take it all in. Thank you.